you know, in that article I sent you, I said something which for me really it made sense when it arrived, and that was your business and your character are one and the same thing.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I thought that was really strong. Yeah,
yeah, and I at the time of writing it, I felt this for me. This is important. So what are we doing? If people are, and you've used the analogy, if people say something, to the world, but deep inside there's a lack of authenticity in their intent, then your character and your business aren't one, or they are one, okay, but they're not what you tell in the world. And so I guess it's always the character and the business are always one, and the character is revealed in the business. Okay.
So would you say, like, would one way of saying it be that your business is an expression of your character? Would that be a fair statement, do you think?
Yeah, it would be, but the words you've used sort of indicate a separation. Okay, it's an expression, so it's a manifestation outside of yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking more that it's one and the same thing. Okay, if you want to get to so all you do is you work on your own on your own spiritual self. Okay, in whichever way, with all sorts of intents about the digital economy or digital distribution economy, but it's the spiritual in oneself. So the more one raises in consciousness, and the more you'll be graced with information of, like we are looking to move forward and help people and help ourselves too, to get to this digital distribution sort of level. So I'm thinking, it's definitely one and the same thing, and not part of, and it's not an attraction. Okay, it's not a manifestation. Okay, it's very different. So yeah, so that's why I think the wording is important.
I think that's really really powerful what you've just described there. Very powerful, and I think it's got to be one of our key planks in many respects, is to how people think about the businesses and how they think about their planning and that, because it does require, if I'm hearing you correctly, it does require a very much an inside-out approach, doesn't it? A lot of internal reflection and exploration as you think 100%. About
100%. Yes, yeah. I agree. Yeah. Inside out is a good way to describe. But at the same time, there's never an end to the inside out.
No.
Yeah, okay. So you need to start your business and start moving forward with that tiny little step. And we did an article or a video of the first step in business, which was authentic intent. And why? We said why again, and we always say it every time, and because it's so important. Okay. And that's like really the first. So I see when you flesh out that the intent and the why, is something that you drive, and you don't go. A business owner doesn't go forward, or a potential business owner, until they're really clear within themselves the authentic intent, not the marketing intent, you know.
Okay, so do you and I have a role to play in how do I describe this, in giving people a process for that internal inquiry?
Yes, I definitely think we do, and it's because people are at a level of I don't want to use the word consciousness all the time, at a level of thinking about their business. Okay, and they they've seen something, or they've been graced with an idea. They've been graced with a thought.
It's a good way to put it, actually.
They want to now go forward, and they probably as lost as we were 2 years ago. And so our role there, through a process of questioning, giving nothing, because who are we to enhance grace? Okay, we can't. But we can get them to focus, okay, and to get them to focus not into the traditional format, although we mustn't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Okay. There's a lot of value in that initial traditional approach, and I think we need to use that. Okay. But we need to be there depending on where they are and what they're asking of themselves. Okay. We don't give them the answers, okay, but we give them the direction. Okay. We stimulate with the questions. We maybe give resources. Okay. Because one of the first things that you put on your website when you designed it was resources. Okay. I never quite understood it, but now it's clear. Okay. But it would be within a context of a platform of some description. Okay. The people would come aboard, and it will be a process, and it might just be that they want that initial guidance, and they get given it, and they leave. Okay. The others might be just joining for life, and moving and constantly coming back, and we sharing and enhancing and giving positive reinforcement. Because it's interesting, you said a few moments ago that you still have a passion for your antiques and the working with antiques. Okay. But I know I don't know whether it's past months or so, you haven't been working your antiques. Okay. But yet it is your passion. Okay. It is something you really love. And here you are going off on a digital direction, which possibly is not your passion. Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I have thought about that, and even literally within the last 5 minutes, as you've been speaking, wonderfully speaking, there was a couple of things flashed to mind. Like, I was sort of thinking, like with Logos, for example, and like with Sadhguru with his Isha Foundation and so on. And I'm sure there's a whole bunch of others as well. A lot of those sort of traditional spiritual teachers would gather their flock, and they would sort of tend to their flock, within however word of mouth or whatever would, communicate their message, And I think Logos is an excellent example of that. But hey presto, Logos is also in the digital age, and they have a digital presence. And, no doubt there are implications, and I don't know whether the leader of Logos, and I think you've mentioned to me in the past that maybe there has been some consideration about, what does the presence of digital communication provide? What sort of opportunities or whatever does it provide for carrying some of these messages out there? So, there is definitely a place for In the age in which we live, which is this digital model, whether it's an industrial model or evolving into the distribution model, which we think it is, for organisations like that. The organisations which potentially, if you look at Christianity, started, thousands and thousands of years ago.
Yeah, we know there's a place for it, okay? But is there a place for you? Is there a place for me? What is my passion at the moment? Okay, it's probably researching and writing. I enjoy doing, but I enjoy gardening. Okay, I've been gardening every single day for the last week or two, and I connect with the plants. I really do, and I give them hell if they don't flower. Okay, I threaten them. Okay. You laugh. It's true. You ask to. It's so there is that, and I enjoy weeding it, and I'm looking at the garden now as I'm talking to you, and because as you know, I'm sitting in the dining room area, and it's lovely, what's nature, what's a bird, but what is my passion? What is my desire? Definitely it was wooden toys when I started that out, okay? But I didn't make them myself, okay? It was my idea. I set up the finance, I set up the thing. I got a carpenter, a skilled person to come and be my factory manager, and I went out and marketed it. That was I wouldn't say marketing is my passion at all. I wouldn't say selling interests me at all for decades. Okay, but it's been a need. So I'm not sure what my passion is at 70 years old. Quite clear. I mean, you're quite clear. I mean, you love your antiques. Okay. But you don't want to continue make a business out of it. I mean, you've been asked, and that could be grace as well, divine grace. You're asked to do ebooks about it, okay, which you've done, but it's around antiques. So maybe there's really a business around antiques in the ebooks and the communication and this beautiful way you've got with I love your stories about the antiques and who owned it before and before that and before that and it's a story. I mean, it's beautiful, okay? And I love hearing you talking about antiques, okay? Why? Because there's an enthusiasm in your voice which perhaps isn't there when you're talking about gardening or something. I don't know, but it is. So I say, what's making you go in the training of digital distribution as opposed to possibly the training of antiques and the writing and the communication and getting people to want to keep their furniture? Okay.
Well, I don't see them as different.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I don't see them as different because, part of that passion. I mean, I love, laying my hands on the wood and all that sort of stuff. I adore it. But in terms of those around me, I sort of see myself as a bit of a lightning rod, if you like, to try and get that that catalyst, that word we've used before, to ignite that passion in others, because sure, I can lock myself away, maybe in some respects a little bit, not really, but a little bit like your toy businesses, that I could sit there and I could set up my workshop and I could churn out, I don't know, 24 dining room suites a year or whatever, and have a great time for myself. But the people who buy that, they'll enjoy the furniture and stuff. But I just sort of see that there's a bigger purpose through this. I want to inspire that energy in people, and also get people to take a passion about how they decorate their homes, because the atmosphere that we create around us is so important from a spiritual perspective. And I sort of see that, having a beautiful piece of furniture, even if it's only like a single chair sitting over in the corner of the room, but if that chair, was lovingly made, 200 years ago by a craftsman who poured his or her heart and soul into the creation of that, and it's been, restored or preserved or whatever over that time by a whole range of different custodians, then isn't that worthwhile?
Yeah.
And if you create
Yes,
this,
it is, but why aren't you doing it?
well, I am doing it.
Oh, you are. Why am I talking digital?
Well, and that's kind of what I see around this, is that,
Okay.
that if I can, through with you, very much a critical part of this, with you, that if we create this process, this technology, let's call it a technology, if we create this technology, that if individuals embrace it, then it doesn't matter whether it's a 100-year-old piece of furniture, or whether it's someone who wants to make toys, or someone who wants to whatever.
Right.
If we can get that technology right and direct that energy, because that spiritual energy does point in a particular direction. It does point to love and respect for our planet, and for each other, and on and on, and all those fundamental spiritual values. Well, if this technology that you and I are developing can help that, and it can be expressed in a million different ways, then I think we can comfortably take our last breath and think, yes, no, we've done a good job.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, I follow your thinking quite clearly. Yeah, yeah,
Because I mean, like, you think about it in terms of like your passion for like the gardening, for example.
yeah.
I mean, I'd strongly put it to you that that's a spiritual process.
Oh no, I can understand. I can accept that. I can accept that. Yes, definitely. Yeah, I mean,
Even though you're, like a demonic possessed person, when you're threatening the plants that if they don't flower, they're going to get ripped out of the ground.
can it clap, clap, clap,
Waving the shears over the top of them,
Yeah, yeah.
flower.
I did that today. I cut them, I pruned them, and I said, "Come on, you've been here now for nearly 2 years and you haven't flowered. Okay, I need flowers. I'm going to cut you back because maybe that's what you need. Maybe that's the encouragement you need. I mean, thank goodness I don't talk loud. The neighbors would send me to the asylum."